Deuteronomy 2, verse 7. And I think that verse kind of speaks to what we're talking about, Dan, in terms of like, even though you're in the wilderness, just know that you lack nothing. Like you may not be where you want to be. You may not be where you want to be, but God has kept you covered this entire time. And for me, I've been meditating on that verse a lot lately because, Dan, really, like I'm so ambitious. I'm like, God, well, I don't have this yet, or I haven't gotten to this level yet. And He's like, my son, I've kept you this entire time. Like I've been with you, this entire time. So just know that if you're in it right now, He's got you this entire time. You won't lack anything. So patience in the process requires you to be humble, right? And humility is something that I think that if we're all being honest, we all have to constantly work on, or all have to really, cultivate inside of us, because sometimes we get to a point, and we feel like we arrived. I've been at that point a lot of times where it's like, I feel like, my stuff don't stink no more, or it's like, I've been at a place of like, I made it, and God will quickly show you, bro, you have not arrived. Like, matter of fact, like you got a lot of work to do. So like, you need to pipe down, you know what I'm saying, and realize that you are not who you think you are. So patience in the process requires you to be humble, because oftentimes the promise and where you're currently at looks nothing alike. Patience in the process requires hope. This show, one thing that I'm going to talk about a lot is dreaming big and really having just the hope and faith for things that are beyond what you can currently see. So, I want to encourage you that even when you're in a season, you got to be patient. Still dream. Matter of fact, you should be dreaming like outrageously. Like, I would encourage you, to write the vision down. Get your journal out and write down what it is you want to see. Like for me, one thing I do, I write down my prayers. I write down my dreams. I write down everything, because when God does it, because I know, because like I said, at the beginning, He's going to do it. When God does it, I want to be able to look back and say, you know what, God really, like God did, like legit, like I want to be able to say like, yo, God really did that for me, and I didn't even see how it was going to happen. I'm like, man, when I look back at my life, I've been doing the same thing my whole life. When I say that, like, I've been speaking, I've been encouraging people, I've been able to inspire people, I've been able to help empower and transform people, but I've been doing the same thing my entire life. Like, I've always known who I was. I've tried to run, I've tried to hide, I've tried to blend in a lot. But like, as I've gotten older and been more comfortable with who I am and who I'm called to be, I'm not ashamed, I'm not afraid. Like, I'm actually fully confident in who God's made me to be. But that happened as I started looking at like my surroundings and looking at the answer. I'm like, hold up, bro, you don't want to call it what you've been doing, but you've been doing the same thing at every level of your life. So today, if anybody out there watching, you probably know what you should be doing or what you have been doing, and you may not want to call it what it is, but I would take a deep look in the mirror and realize that you're probably operating or probably have been doing the thing that you want to do. Like, you probably just don't even realize it. So for me, I think that it's important to look back over your life and study the patterns of your life and study the different occurrences and experiences you had in your life, because those things will all be very, very telling to help you discern your destiny and to go forward. What you have is what you speak. So I want to first start by, the first point is speak life into yourself and over yourself. So saying things like, I don't know if I can do it, I don't believe in this, or like, or you're saying stuff like, maybe I'm not good enough. Well, if you keep saying that, then like, you're probably not going to be good enough. So like, I want you to practice speaking encouraging things over yourself, speaking positive things over yourself, and telling yourself that you can do it, you will do it. I believe half of the battle for a lot of things that we're pursuing is mental. It's mental, and it really comes with us just speaking life into ourselves and into the things that we want to pursue. So I'll tell you what I do, right? I don't speak anything negative. Like, I don't say things like, I don't say things like I can't. I don't say things that are contradictory to what it is I want to pursue. So like for me, I'm only speaking I can do that. Even if at that time I can't physically do that thing, I'm going to speak I can do it. Like for me personally, the worst thing you can tell me is that I can't do something. Like that's the worst thing that you could tell somebody like me that. And I say that because half the times we're speaking things over ourselves like, I don't know if I'm good enough, or nobody in my family's done it before, or I haven't seen anybody do that. If you keep speaking those things and you're speaking life into those situations, or if you're speaking things like, here's my favorite one. If you're speaking things like, it's no good women out here, it's no good men out here, okay, then like you're probably gonna come across trash people all the time because you are legit saying that over and over again. So that's what's like you're bringing that into your reality. So I want to challenge everybody today, just on a base level, start speaking positive, speak life into yourself. There comes a point where it's not gonna be motivation, it's not gonna be inspiration, it's not gonna be a level of infatuation when you're pursuing something. You're going to have to just eliminate all excuses and execute. How many of us make excuses on the things that we say that we want? But we say like, man, I don't feel like doing this, or this is this, or, this is not happening because of this. And a lot of times, if we're being transparent and real, they are excuses. I want you to eliminate all excuses and know that to achieve any greatness in any sort, you have to execute. Everybody that we deem great, and anything, they execute. I think that if you can master these words and master these principles, you can transform your life in ways you've never imagined. It's focus, discipline, consistency, and execution. It's literally nothing you cannot achieve in this lifetime with those things. And of course, more than anything, keep God first. The first thing is community, right? You need to be around the right people who can speak life into you, who can tell you like, listen, easy, or such and such. This is not the end. This is just a stop through right now. You're going to get through this. I know for me, I have a select few people that I can talk to about, what I'm going through, how I'm navigating these tough waters in this season. And second is limiting, the outside distractions around you. I think a lot of times when we're in seasons of trial and tribulation, we often we have outside noise that really influence you. And the wrong negative influences can really, take you off course even more. So if you're already in a season that's tough, that is already, taking you off course, listening to the wrong music, being in the wrong environments, these are all things that can send you off course. And I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. For me, it's a lot of like, I love trap, I love rap, I love hip hop, I love it, like I do. But in certain phases of my life, I kind of gotta like decrease how much I listen to some of that stuff, because sometimes it doesn't play it. The undertone of the music has a negative ethos, and that ethos puts me in a headspace that's like almost like, yo, I'm never gonna get out of here, So it's like sometimes God wants to see how are you going to steward the season that you're in now, right? Okay, so I have showed you that you are gonna be multimillionaire, right? You're gonna have multiple businesses, but right now you're working at a job where you don't like your boss, you don't like the people that you work with, you don't like the job at all. How are you showing up? Are you showing up with a positive mindset? Are you showing up, being that light in that environment that may be dark? Or right now you're single, and you're praying for a husband, and you're believing that God's machine, sends you your Boaz. But how are you stewarding over your single season? Are you operating in your purpose? Are you operating in your gifting? Are you staying steadfast even though nothing around you look like there's good men available? Or you are beginning to just worry so much that you're like, man, this ain't gonna never happen. God doesn't want that from you in this season. That last point was about looking at your surroundings and seeing what's in front of you, because you may already have the answer there. And when I said that, for me, that came from even looking at myself. So I'll give you a real example. I started out doing podcasts, doing inspirational stuff, but really, I'm like, man, when I look back at my life, I've been doing the same thing my whole life. When I say that, like, I've been speaking, I've been encouraging people, I've been able to inspire people, I've been able to help empower and transform people. But I've been doing the same thing my entire life. And I think at the top of this year, and I've always known who I was. I've tried to run, I've tried to hide, I've tried to blend in a lot. Like I've tried to like really just be a chameleon, be like, yeah, I'm just. But like as I've gotten older and been more comfortable with who I am and who I'm called to be, I'm not ashamed. I'm not afraid. Like I'm actually fully confident in who God's made me to be. But that happened as I started looking at like my surroundings and looking at the answer. I'm like, hold up, bro. You don't want to call it what you've been doing, but you've been doing the same thing at every level of your life. So today, if anybody out there watching, you probably know what you should be doing or what you have been doing, and you may not want to call it what it is, but I would take a deep look in the mirror and realize that you're probably operating or probably have been doing the thing that you want to do. Like you probably just don't even realize it. So for me, I think that it's important to look back over your life and study the patterns of your life and study the different occurrences and experiences you had in your life, because those things will all be very, very telling to help you discern your destiny and to go forward. So that's my answer on that. I know I said a whole lot, but hopefully that answered the question.